on the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the Vice President and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active, and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. If Iran was willing to relinquish material they have and ambitions they have, open this, great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue.
Peace talks with Iran are very much real. That was part of this morning's message from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. It comes as Pakistan looks to facilitate negotiations to end the war. The nation kicked off those negotiations on Sunday with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us now to discuss much more about this. Good to see you today, Sam. So just how significant will sit-downs like this be in order to secure a ceasefire in the region?
Well, unfortunately, at this point, we don't have any public indications that the Iranians and the U.S. are actively engaged in negotiations with each other. We know that Pakistan has been trying to serve as a mediator, but we are getting conflicting accounts from the Iranian regime about whether they're actually negotiating or not. And I will say this, it is not surprising that the Iranians would say that they're not negotiating. It's not surprising that the United States and Iran would have different perspective on how things are going. These negotiations are unlikely to play out in public, and both the United States and Iran have domestic constituencies to worry about. So it's very hard to know what's actually happening behind closed doors. And importantly, even if the two sides are meeting via intermediaries, whether either side thinks that the other can be trusted. And that's the linchpin here, Mugo.
Oh, yeah, definitely, especially considering the fact that these attacks have happened during negotiations. Sam, one analyst tells CBS News that securing Iran's nuclear stockpile would be, quote, one of the riskiest missions in history. You worked on the Iran nuclear deal during the early days of the process. Can you walk us through exactly what the nuclear program includes and what it would take to actually dismantle it?
Well, certainly, the United States has a long history of nuclear disarmament. You look at just Libya or post-Soviet republics like Kazakhstan, the United States knows how to remove nuclear material, nuclear assets like machines called centrifuges, how to remove that stuff from a country. However, the U.S. experience, generally speaking, is doing so with the cooperative government during peacetime, not while bombs are flying. If you now look at Iran, if we just focus, Mugo, on the stockpile of what's known as highly enriched uranium, this is material that could be used to break out to a nuclear weapon and then retrofitted with a warhead to be used for a nuclear weapon. If you just look at that stockpile of enriched uranium, we're talking about over 900 pounds. It is buried deep within the ground. And even if special forces could access it, safely getting it loaded onto aircraft, transported somewhere without leaking, and then ultimately repackaged and shipped to the United States, ostensibly, or a U.S. ally, is a very complicated operation. So we really don't have a historical corollary to what the United States reportedly is reviewing.
Yeah, and certainly when you put it that way, it sounds like an almost impossible task. Another big part of this conflict is the war on information. How has Iran weaponized information this time around? And what can Americans here do to make sure they're not falling for fake content online?
Every American needs to know that the information environment right now is rife with Iranian exploitation. The Iranian regime is using a series of tools to both amplify false information, including about civilian casualties in Iran, about false attacks happening in Israel, in the region, and against U.S. soldiers, and more. The goal of the Iranian information war right now is to paint the United States as weak and to paint the United States as irresponsible. That means that all of our viewers need to really authenticate what they're viewing, whether it's images, whether it's text on X, on social media. And so our information hygiene right now needs to be at its strongest level possible.
All right, Sam Vinograd, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.